Welcome to the wonderful world of dance, bringing you exclusive interviews with top dancers and choreographers and reviews of the world's best companies across the globe. You can find lots more on our website at thewonderfulworldofdance.com.
Hi, this is Savannah Saunders, and today I'm excited to be speaking with Jessica Spinner, Jess, who's a fellow podcast host, ex-professional ballet dancer, health coach, and founder of The Whole Dancer, a health and lifestyle coaching program for high-level dancers. One of the most important issues facing the dance industry is dancer health and well-being. Today we'll be talking to Jess about her own experiences as a dancer that led to her creating this amazing program called The Whole Dancer. Hi Jess, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So firstly, Jess, tell us about your own dance journey. How old were you when you started dancing, and what first sparked your interest in ballet?
So I started somewhat late as far as the more professional track goes. My early years were spent at a sort of mom and pop dance studio where technique was not really a focus. And it was one of those situations where you had just 30 minutes each of ballet, tap, and jazz. And while I was there, my studio owner actually singled me out and said, I think you should seek out some more professional training. So I really have to give her quite a bit of credit for actually pushing me in that direction. When I was about 12, that's when I started at a more professional school. I started training at the Aglevsky Ballet School on Long Island. And very soon after that, I knew that ballet was my passion and my focus. And I think probably my first summer program experience sealed the deal for me, and having career talks with our instructors there and just feeling like, this is definitely what I want to pursue.
So tell us about the summer programs that sparked this desire to become a professional dancer. How and why was it so instrumental to you?
So it was actually probably the very first one I attended, which happened to be at my home ballet school. So I was still on Long Island for that one. But one of our teachers, who had been a professional dancer with American Ballet Theater, she was giving us sort of a career-focused talk. I think probably part of her motivation was to inspire some of us to go down that path. But at the same time, she was kind of giving, the real deal, what's required sort of tips in order to seek out a dance career. And one of the things that she said was, if you want to be a professional dancer, you can't go to college. Or I don't know that she exactly said that, but as a 13-year-old, that's what I took from it.
That was the message that you picked up.
That was the message I got, was you just can't go to college. So I went home that day and I told my mom, I want to be a professional ballet dancer, so I can't go to college. And my mother, I think, panicked because college for every one of her children was like the number one goal. But I was determined, and she was like, okay, maybe we'll be able to work this out or talk through it as you get older. But I was determined, I just decided in my mind on that day that, I was going to be a professional ballet dancer. Now the college plan shifted, but at the time I was like, I can't go to college if I want to be a professional ballet dancer, and this is what I know I want to do. So that determination had kind of been kicked in to high gear on that day.
But you ended up going to university, so did you end up combining, did you have your dance career sort of first, then go on to university, or were you able to combine, the vocational aspects of becoming a professional dancer along with the more academic side? How did it work for you?
So when I got to the end of high school, and, I had gone to a number of different summer programs and had some really great experiences, but I definitely felt like I was not ready to join a company. Mostly, I would say, in terms of technique, I just didn't feel that I was up to the level I should be. And So I had warmed to the idea of going to college over the years. I had kind of said, okay, like maybe there's a way to make this work. And in the United States, there have been these, college dance programs that have definitely been improving and reaching new levels each and every year and, seeking to attract more talented dancers. So I sort of came to this compromise with my mother and at the same time, I felt that it was the right step to go to Butler. Straight out of high school, I went to Butler University and studied dance and arts administration. And they had a really big focus on ballet, which was the number one thing that I was looking for. So.
And how did you then move into becoming a professional dancer? Did you wait until the end of your career before you sort of went out into the dance world to seek the opportunities to dance professionally?
So in my senior year of college, during spring break, I went on sort of an audition tour with a few friends, and we traveled around the country and auditioned for different ballet companies. And that's when I got the offer from Louisville and decided that that would be my next step.
So tell us about dancing with the Louisville company.
It was quite an experience. And as prepared as I felt that I was after college, I still felt a little bit unprepared getting into the actual company environment. Mm-hmm. Every company is different, of course, but, the pressures are greater, I think, than you expect them to be. And what's expected it felt even greater to me than what was expected of us in college. And even there, I felt like it was a high bar. So it was a little bit of a rude awakening and a bit of a shock. But I had some friends who were already at that company, which helped a lot in sort of adapting and starting to feel like I was making improvements within that environment.
And whilst dancing with the company and thinking about your future career as a professional dancer, did that experience inspire you to want to sort of go along that traditional trajectory of joining the corps, rising to soloist, hopefully one day to principal? Was that your vision, or were you thinking, as many dancers do, that actually a different career path is what you are more inclined to think about?
I still felt very determined in the dance sense. However, I think I'm somewhat rare in the fact that I never aspired to be soloist or principal. I just wanted to be in the corps. I was perfectly happy, dancing in the group, and it actually just felt more comfortable. So I think part of it was a little bit of fear of getting out of my comfort zone at that time. But I was very happy dancing in a group, and it felt very satisfying and gratifying to be performing. So I didn't get too caught up in that wanting to go for principal. I just wanted to be dancing.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell us, what did you love, or what do you love the most about your time as a professional dancer in that performance environment, or just generally, what's your deep love about dance?
I really love the work. Mm-hmm. I love being in the studio every day. I love taking class. And then I did, I was not someone who really had stage fright. So I did really enjoy my moments on the stage as well. There's something about that energy that you get when you are on stage and feeling that energy from the audience, and just it's hard to describe, and there's like almost no other way to get it. Mm-hmm. It sort of feels like, there's no other stage that's exactly the same as when you're performing a ballet on stage, especially one that you really just love.
And what's your favorite ballet that you love performing, or just in general?
My favorite ballet that I performed was Beauty and the Beast. Mm-hmm. I was an angel, and at the end we flew, so like they hoisted us up on on one of those. I don't even know what they're called, but like that cord,
the hoist
they pull
thing.
you up. Right. And like we're just like flying at the end. But I just really loved that role. And there were only 4 of us, so it was a smaller, set of dancers, but it was a really fun, and the costumes were beautiful. And yeah, that one. And then also The Great Gatsby was one that I loved performing. I just love those costumes, and the whole energy of that ballet is awesome.
Yeah, it's an incredible story as well, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. And tell us about your time as a freelance dancer. What did that sort of encapsulate?
So it was interesting because I, came from the New York dance scene, and I understood what it was like auditioning in Manhattan because I had done that my whole life. Even as a young person, that was sort of the direction I had to go for summer programs and things like that. So I was very used to such a big and highly, highly competitive dance scene that then when I came to Boston and was freelancing, it was interesting because I kind of felt that outside of Boston Ballet, which is super high caliber, obviously, there wasn't a ton of dancers pursuing professional jobs. So there were a lot of opportunities and, a lot of ways where you could kind of make connections with the best known ballet teachers or artistic directors in the area. And they actually would, seek you out and call you for certain things. And then auditioning, I always felt like I was getting really great roles and like I said, just a lot of opportunities. So I really enjoyed it. And I liked that I was able at that time to start to explore other areas outside of dance that could kind of enhance what I was doing in the studio.
And tell us about, and you mentioned this a little bit earlier, some of the pressures that you felt, particularly coming out of school and then going into the more traditional company scene. What challenges have you found sort of throughout your career that have had quite an impact or that you've had to really overcome?
So throughout my dancing up to the end, I struggled significantly with body image and borderline disordered eating. I never got into full-fledged eating disorder territory, I would say, but there were definitely times when my relationship with food and my body and the mirror were just, as bad as it can get. Okay. And that created a big hurdle because if you're trying to dance professionally, but you're going into the studio and focusing on all of your perceived flaws, it does not help you to get to any, next level or even to maintain a job. It's not easy to stay in it fully when you've got all of this negative stuff spinning around in your head. Yeah. So those were some of my biggest struggles as a dancer. And I would say, as much as I often have said injury is what ended my career, I really think that it's more my mental demons that ended my career more than anything else. It's funny now I'm, 32, which is very, feels like over the hill as a ballet dancer. Yeah. But I almost feel like if I really went at it hard now, I could get further than I did when I was younger, just because I've got the mental strength and, the tools that are needed to actually succeed. So, we'll see. Yeah. I'll keep you posted.
Well, I can certainly see the dedication and the pressures and the physical toll that it can take, as well as the emotional and psychological toll that becoming, working so hard towards becoming a professional dancer and then maintaining that life as a professional dancer is no doubt very, very difficult. And the challenges and the issues that the dance industry has around dancer health, body positivity and ensuring that dancers or dance students and dancers have the support around them to be able to deal with those issues and those challenges is critical, really, for the future of the dance industry, I personally feel. And I think it's actually something which, thankfully, a lot of vocational schools now are really having a good consideration about in terms of their preparation of young dancers. But I think, perhaps before it wasn't quite as topical as it certainly is now.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So I was really interested to sort of hear about your personal story and how that has influenced you creating the Whole Dancer. So tell us about the Whole Dancer, the Dancer program, and particularly, as we talk around body image, the Dancer's Best Body program as well. Tell us about, your vision.
Sure. So, I think, as you said, it's such a necessary topic of conversation, and it is getting more and more sort of attention. However, at the same time, I sometimes think that schools don't exactly, and even companies don't fully grasp how to infiltrate and offer the support that dancers need. And I think sometimes too, dancers don't want to admit that they need or want help.
Yeah.
So with the Whole Dancer being, mostly an online world that I've created and I've been nurturing over the last couple of years, I think that it provides a space where dancers can go and they don't necessarily need to tell anyone that they're seeking out this help. And it's something that they can do for themselves in communication with me if they want. And they can get the tools and support that is, as we said, needed to really maintain this career and move forward. I created through the Whole Dancer program. That was the first program I created. And that's sort of geared toward just overall wellness and balance and setting goals, which I think that as much as dancers are driven, we're not often taught or shown, the importance of setting specific goals and how that can move your career forward much more quickly than if you're just sort of going towards this abstract, becoming a principal or reaching the next rank,
Yeah, and taking control of one's destiny and one's journey rather than just floating along with the opportunities that are presented. Yes,
exactly. And that control, like they don't realize a lot of times, dancers don't. I know that I didn't, how much power you have in your own life and your own path. I think, as dancers, we're sort of taught you might only get one job offer and that's the one you have to take. And there's some reality to that. There's some truth to that. But at the same time, just because you take that job doesn't mean it's the perfect fit for you or it's where you should stay.
Yeah.
Or that you can't, change your path within that job or, around the next audition season, whatever it might be. So I think that dancers really could use that support. And that's what the Whole Dancer program hopes to provide.
Absolutely. And I've been talking recently with a lot of young dancers who are either leaving their dance schools or they have entered into companies and saying to themselves, actually, this is not the career that I'm looking for. Some of them are looking more for opportunities around being guest performers, sort of coupling that with traveling, with entrepreneurial activities, with wanting to do, sort of move away from that traditional trajectory and being able to explore different types of techniques or choreographers or, going with different companies and then, changing and then thinking about what they're doing. So it's great that there's a place like the Whole Dancer where they can go and help look at what their goals are and how they might want to be able to, feel supported in taking control of their destiny. It's fantastic.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, I think as dancers, we get on this path so young and at such an intense level that you feel very much like that's the only way to go. And as you said, dancers sometimes, once you get to be 20, maybe you have started dancing professionally, 20, 22, whatever it might be, you really might not be happy in that world anymore. Yeah. And that's okay. But I think that after spending all that time and dedication, and then sometimes dancers have the guilt around, the money that their parents spent.
This expectation that can be set upon them.
If I don't do this, and then there's the whole identity thing and identifying ourselves as dancers. And then like, oh, if I'm not a dancer, what am I?
Yeah.
And I have had dancers go through the whole dancer program and come out the other end and say, you know what, like I've realized that this is not what I want to do next. And, I had a girl who had done her undergrad in dance at a very prestigious university for dance. And after going through the program, she was like, I think I'm going to go to like grad school and maybe study something else. And that was great, I thought, as
Absolutely.
An outcome,
Yeah.
because she was able to get there for herself and feel empowered around it. And she was getting excited. Whereas before, in pursuing the dance, at that point, she was feeling totally drained and exhausted and scared, Listening
to you, Jess, I'm actually getting goose pimples just thinking about the impact that you're having on young dancers in being able to guide their sort of futures. I just think it's fantastic, actually.
I feel very, very lucky to be in this position and having a positive impact on some dancers, because I do think, there needs to be more positive support out there for them. So I really do feel honored to get to do what I do.
So tell us about the Dancer's Best Body program. Really interested to hear about that.
So the Dancer's Best Body program just started in September of 2016. So it's not even been around a year, but it's really been the most popular program that I've put out. And I think that as we can all see, and as even coming from my story, the whole body component and reaching peak performance and doing it in a healthful way is definitely an area that a lot of dancers could use a little bit more support.
Yeah.
So many of the dancers that I've worked with through the Dancer's Best Body program have said to me, like this teacher or this artistic director or whoever said to them, this body part needs to change, or, you'd really look better if you lost like X amount of pounds, or, whatever. And that was my experience too. Dancer or teachers will say to you, maybe you could change this thing about yourself. And as dancers, as people pleasers and oftentimes perfectionists, we
Absolutely.
say, oh my gosh, I have to make this happen and I have to do it quickly and I have to, just make the change, which can naturally lead to less healthy means of sparking that change. And the unfortunate part then is, dancers then go back into the studio after crash dieting for 4 weeks and their teachers start to say, oh my gosh, you look so great, keep it up. Or, oh, I'm really seeing that you're making these changes I talked to you about. They get positive reinforcement, unfortunately, for unhealthy practices. Teachers don't usually ask how they got there. They're just glad that they got there. So with the Dancer's Best Body program, I'm hoping to show dancers that, to do this sustainably, to make the changes you want to your body, it's going to take a little bit longer, but we're going to do it so that it lasts for your whole career.
So it's not just a lifestyle.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Not just a quick fix. And we get very much into the mindset part of it in that program as well, because as much as I wish it was just like, here, eat these foods and you'll be exactly what you want to be. My struggle was in my head. And I think that that's what is true for a lot of dancers as well. So we get very much into how you think about yourself and what you see in the mirror and how you think about food as it relates to your dancing and your success.
Yeah, I remember when I was growing up, I was scared of food. I literally it took until I stopped training, and as I became a young adult, to even be interested in even going near food, actually.
Yeah.
And even, as a, fully fledged adult, I still have, some deep down, issues with food, and it does stem even, I didn't even go into the professional world, but it does stem from that, young dancer experience around body and body image, and it can really have long-lasting effects if they're not given support, and if they can get support through the Dancer's Best Body program in a way that they feel that's confidential and in their own space to be able to complement their professional or semi-professional practice. I think that's wonderful. And what sort of feedback are you getting from the dancers who are going through your programs?
It's been really overwhelmingly positive, which is, again, it warms my heart when I think about it. And when I hear from them and they say, they report so much progress, not only in how they physically appear with the Dancer's Best Body program, because naturally, some of them do have body goals and changes that they want to see for themselves. And that's okay. And when they report that they're seeing the progress, but then a lot of times they'll say to me, but even more than that, I just feel so much better about myself, and I know now that it's going to be a process, and that's okay because I want it to last and keep me strong for my career. So hearing that from them is just, it's like, yes, it's working.
That's wonderful. And Jess, finally, what piece of advice would you give to aspiring dancers who may be facing these challenges around body images, health, well-being issues? Some sort of key takeaways that perhaps your programs deliver. So for dancers who may be listening to this podcast today, what would some of the words that you'd like them to hear from you?
Sure. So I think some of the biggest things are that you have to remember who you're doing this for. Who are you really dancing for? Yes, we get on stage and we're kind of dancing for the audience. And, in the studio, we get to a place often where we are dancing for our teachers or for our artistic directors. And that's who we're thinking about first, like, oh goodness, what's he thinking of me? Or what is she thinking of me? And I want you to remind yourself who you're really dancing for. And for most of us, we're dancing for ourselves. You're doing this because you love it, because it makes you happy, because it gets you out of bed every morning. And that's who you have to make any changes for, and that's who you have to work towards any progress for, whether that is in the body changes or whether that is in, improving your technique. So just remind yourself every day that you're doing this for yourself because you love yourself, because you want to enjoy your life. And that can translate into how you approach food, and then it can move into, easily getting to the place where you want your body to be, or where you'll be your happiest, best dancing self.
That's absolutely fantastic. Such amazing words for dancers listening today. That's great. Thank you so much, Jess, for joining us. And for everyone who's listening around the world, you can find out more information about Jess's incredible programs. You can also listen to Jess's podcast, The Whole Dancer, which is amazing. So definitely check that out as well. And the issues that we've been discussing today, check out the Dancer's Best Body program. And everything's on her website, thewholedancer.com. And I just want to say that if you are listening and these topics that we've discussed do sort of feel important to you, that they're close to their heart or something that you're experiencing, please do reach out to Jess or to myself. But Jess sounds a bit of an expert in this particular field. But talk to your teacher, a friend, a ballet mate or a parent who can give you some support and understanding. And as I say, check out thewholedancer.com. Thank you, Jess.
Don't forget to subscribe. We've got some incredible interviews coming up with principal ballerinas and renowned choreographers. We love dance and ballet, and we hope you'll love us. Join us on Facebook and Twitter.